Good morning. It is a joy to be among you. I am so deeply happy and proud to be the minister here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Boca Raton. I first want to note that this past Thursday was our annual Transgender Day of Remembrance, which we do every November 20th. I attended the gathering in Wilton Manor this year, and in 2025, thus far, we have lost 851 souls. These are transgender people lost to violence because they are trans. And I have to say, their lives matter. The attacks on our transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming community are one of the most vital justice issues of our time. Now, on to our topic at hand. Do you remember those old Godzilla movies? The black and white ones with Godzilla like stomping through the water and stomping and knocking down buildings, fighting with Mothra. Well, I saw a handkerchief recently with a little outline of Godzilla, and at the bottom it said, "What if Godzilla just really needed a hug?" What might it be like if those movies were actually true? If this was actually true about Godzilla? What if her anger was just a cover for a really deep hurt? What if she felt like nobody cared about her? So I'm asking you, every time I raise my arms like this, if you would please say with me, what if Godzilla really needed a hug? Let's try it. What if Godzilla really needed a hug? Our Unitarian Universalist Article 2 statement, which we selected in summer of 2024, puts love at the center, with justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity as our shared values. And that doesn't mean that we replaced our 7 principles. They're still there. We use them all the time. I preach about them regularly. Other people talk about them all the time. They're on the banners hanging in Osiris. They are here to stay. But why should we put love at the center of these values? Why would we do that? Why not justice or equity? We're Unitarian Universalists. We care, right? Well, I will say love is what drives me to do justice work. Love for humanity and doing what's right gets me out of bed at crazy o'clock in the morning to go to a protest during rush hour in the morning on a street corner. Or to speak up when somebody says, well, what ICE is doing isn't so bad, is it? Yes. It is bad. It is a profound evil. I hope you hear me say that. It is not okay. I think a very good argument could be made that love is at the center of our faith, reflected in driving our equity work. Love is helping us move forward in transformation. Love shows us the beauty of pluralism. Love is why we value interdependence. And love pushes us towards generosity, financially, with our time, and with our caring. I could go on and on, but what I'm focusing on right now is love as community, love as connection. Love as a stubborn refusal to let our relationships be severed by tension or discord. As human beings, we are wired for connection. We are born for it. It is something we need from the very moment we come out into this world. Even as babies, if we don't get connection, we will die. Connection is as important to us as breathing and eating and maybe even sleeping. I know I've lost sleep over relationships that didn't feel right, and I think that's okay, because it's so important. The quality of our relationships is what determines the quality of our lives. You've probably heard me say that before. I'll probably say it again. In fact, research has shown that if someone is isolated, cut off, and alone, that raises their level of risk to die as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's the same risk, being isolated and cut off and lonely. Think about that. That's how important connection is to us. We are connected creatures from the very beginning to the very end, and Unitarian Universalism offers us a chance to create deliberate community, where everyone is welcome, everyone is valued, everyone is loved, and no one is cast out. There's no disposable human beings, and I don't care what they've done. No one is disposable. Every single person belongs. Every single person has inherent worth and dignity. Every single person is valuable. So we live our lives in relationship to others. We all have emotional connections with someone, most of us, many someones. And those relationships deeply enrich our lives. And others can drive us absolutely nuts. They can forget to ask you how your day was. They can forget to put the top back on the toothpaste. They could put the toilet paper on wrong. They could leave their socks laying around, and when you say, hey, could you put your socks away? You find them the next day on their pillow. The pillow? Why would anyone do that? What's up with that? That person that you care about deeply might have strong opinions about something where you feel exactly opposite. And it could make us as angry as Godzilla. Our relationships include family, friends, colleagues, and all of us here in places like this, a deliberately chosen community, where we decide to gather together in covenant. It's not easy being in a community with people. Why would we bother? We could just take a hike or read a book or watch a movie, knit, anything at all. Why should we keep doing this very hard thing? And why should we go somewhere where people are going to get on our nerves? They're going to make mistakes. They're going to mess it up. Well, the title's already given it away. Love is the reason. James Luther Adams famously said, human beings individually and collectively become human by making a commitment, by making promises. The human being as such, as Martin Buber says, is the promise-making, promise-keeping, promise-breaking, promise-renewing creature. Why would he say that? He said that because our faith tradition rests on a foundation of covenant. That beautiful thing that we just sang is a promise that we make to each other to love, to see the best in each other, to be kind to each other. So if somebody does something awful or upsets us, and they really should know better, that's okay. We're human. That's why we keep trying. Even though it would be so much easier to walk away, we keep trying. We stay because of love. Love is what keeps us here in this faith tradition that demands so much of us. Perhaps when we feel most Godzilla-like, or the person standing before us is appearing Godzilla-like, what if Godzilla really just needed a hug? A few years ago, I attended a UUA webinar, and I don't remember who I should attribute this quote to, but I had forgotten I had it, and I aspired to live into its challenge. And it reads, do I look for ways to reaffirm in action and in attitude my love for the one with whom I am in conflict? Where there is distrust, injustice, or hatred, how am I an instrument of reconciliation and love? Learning how to have respectful communication with someone that you disagree with is hard. And we can do this. We are doing this. If we love someone, we stay connected, even and especially when it's difficult. And in those moments, instead of seeing each other as Godzilla, can we see each other as fully human, as precious, having a fragile heart? And that doesn't mean shrinking ourselves or apologizing or doing whatever it takes to get back into this person's good graces. It means saying calmly and lovingly, here's who I am, here's how I feel, tell me about you, with genuine curiosity. Who are you? How are you feeling? What do you think? Because I care about you. I want to know how you are feeling. I want to understand where you're coming from. Conflict isn't a bad thing, it's an opportunity, because we can grow closer if we do it right. If we remain curious and open, we might learn a lot about ourselves and each other from that conflict. There's that scene in Dirty Dancing where Patrick Swayze's character says, this is my dance space, this is your dance space. You don't dance in my dance space, I don't dance in your dance space. And it's kind of like that. We have to define who we are and how we feel, and let them define who they are and how they feel. And then we move together, right? That's what we do when we disagree. Side note, one thing that we have on the horizon, a team is currently being explored for a right relations team for the creative tension of conflict between members. You might have heard it referred to as right relations. The name is still being formed, and it could be structured any kind of way. We're still working that out. Speak to Ron if you're interested. I know he's not here right now, but he'll be back. So if you're having a disagreement or an issue with somebody, what can you do? First of all, I would ask you to really feel your feelings. What's going on in your body? Be sensitive to that. And not numb out, but just really feel it. And then second, set your mind to a place of goodwill. I care about this person. I care about this relationship, because our attitude determines what happens when we go into a conversation. And third, I know this might feel like a risk, but hear me out. I want you to consider going to whomever it is that you're upset with and saying, can we talk? And if you don't feel comfortable doing so, I'll be happy to speak with you, and maybe we could figure out how to talk to them together. And my suggestion would be to say, here's what I'm feeling and thinking, not what you're doing is wrong, because that's a criticism. Let's keep it in the I statements, right? And don't be fooled if they come back at you with, well, you did this horrible thing, you're a bad person. That's probably about them, not about you. And that's okay. Just share what you're feeling and let them feel what they're feeling. And then maybe you could say, the story I'm telling myself was you don't care about me, or obviously you're just selfish. The reality might be very, very different. So a really good response from someone hearing all this could be, well, of course I don't want you to feel like that. Because regardless of what's going on inside of us or going on inside of them, it's vulnerability that helps us find true connection. It's when we can reach inside and say, here's how I'm hurting, and you can hear how they're hurting, that you can really connect person to person, nervous system to nervous system. It's in stating how we feel that we can become really closer to people. And that's what covenant means. We treat each other with kindness. We remember the inherent, even if it hurts, even if it's hard. Those feelings don't go away. If we don't say anything to that person, it'll come out another way. And it just makes things worse. And at times, our own anger or theirs might be a cover for deep pain that that person is carrying. What if Godzilla only wanted a hug? I remember a book title I saw decades ago, Buried Feelings Never Die, and I'm pretty sure that's true. The feelings inside our bodies are information, messages for us to take in. But remember, the other person is a person too. They have feelings, they're equally worthy of dignity and respect. And then, if you can do that, this whole relationship thing gets so much easier. You might have heard or read some people talking about the Hope for Us team. They're going to come and help us learn how to have conflict well, how to do it with love and respect. And I'm so excited that they're coming. According to an Instagram post from the Be Happy Project, we don't heal first and love later. We heal in love, through love, around love, in the presence of people who are safe enough, stable enough, and willing enough to walk with us through the hard things. Because we are a beloved community. This is us. We do this. We do this together. And we've been through a lot of hard stuff over the years. It hasn't been easy. And I know that with mutual support and caring, we can continue to face hard things. When we choose this community, when we sign that membership book, we are joining our hearts with the hearts of everyone else in this community, in this congregation. We hold each other tenderly and kindly to work out our differences and come back and try again. And when we fail, which we will because we're human, we get up and try again. And that's okay. We make our mistakes and we try again. That's love, y'all. That's love. That's why it's in the center. That's why it's in the center. That's what our values as Unitarian Universalists call to us. Leonard Cohen wrote a song called Anthem, and the lyrics go, forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. We all have our cracks. We all have our flaws. All of us are human and have made mistakes. And it's how we handle ourselves that makes the difference, that truly reveals the depth of our devotion to our values. The reading that we started with by Hannah Brencher about molting, my darlings, yes, love can be costly. Our feathers might drop off. It can hurt, and it's the only thing that ultimately matters. Any pain that you might be feeling will pass. This is just a season. And let the molting happen. You will be amazed at what's on the other side of it. In 2016, I took my 12-year-old child with me to a summer festival in North Carolina. We had driven all day across Tennessee, which is a long, skinny state. We were both hungry and tired and a little crabby, and we set our tents up at dusk. And just as I was settling my stuff inside my tent, I heard a tiny voice say, "Mom, there's a flood in here." It had started raining, torrential downpour. And so I got her out and I got into my tent, but then there was a lake forming in my tent too. We had accidentally gone into a depressed area. It was a giant puddle. So we dragged both of our tents up out of the flooding and we took shelter under a large community tent with folding chairs. It was dark, both of us were completely soaked all the way through. We were hungry and tired. And the wind was blowing briskly, and I was more than a little crabby. I was feeling a little bit Godzilla-like in that moment. And she was happy on a camping trip with Mom. So there was no way I could be grumpy about being cold and wet and tired after that. It was humbling for me to see her enthusiasm. My child eagerly greeted the other members of the group, and they began setting up for the evening meeting, and the leader asked for someone to start out with a song. My child raised her hand and said, "My mom knows a song. My mom can sing." And so I did. I sang Blue Boat Home, which is the same song I'd been singing to my mom as she was dying in the hospital a few months earlier. And it was exactly the balm that my heart needed that day. I was feeling Godzilla-like, and my child called me back to love. I'd like to share with you something that Jim Palmer said in his book entitled Notes from Over the Edge. The best I know to tell you is don't leave love left undone. Go all the way with love. There may be things you don't accomplish, attain, or achieve in your life. Do not let shrinking back from love be one of them. If you are fortunate, you discover that love is the only thing that really matters. Love heals everything, and love is all there is. On your way out of this world, you will look back and see it was always about that. It was always about love. I urge you, don't let kindness be left unspoken. Heal whatever pain you can, whatever's in your dance space. Speak your truth and share your heart, and I urge you to live your life with a magnanimous, forgiving, all-encompassing kind of love. As in the song that we heard earlier by Jason Mraz, love is still the answer. Why are we here? Love. Whatever you want, whatever you are after, love is still the answer. Why should we keep trying? Love, that's why. I would like to share with you the words of the great Howard Thurman. Here is a mystery. If sweeping through the door of my heart there moves continually a genuine love for you, it bypasses your hate or your indifference and gets through to you at your center. You are powerless to do anything about it. You may keep alive in devious ways the fires of your bitter heart, but they cannot get through to me. Underneath the surface of the tension, something else is at work. It is utterly impossible to keep someone else from loving you. I believe we are all capable of such stubbornly devoted love. You're about to hear an original new song written by our own Jackie for the offertory. Her words read, "We don't fix, we celebrate. We don't fear, we liberate. We lead with love." May you go forth now and love abundantly. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.